I'm kind of scared just to pop it open. You know, it's a little bit of work. Here we go. Let's see. Oh. So how easy is it to brew hard cider? I was looking at pages, and it looks like it's pretty easy. You literally just take some apple juice or cider and you add some yeast and you let it ferment for a little bit, and voila. Last year, I found a YouTube channel. Townsend is the name of the channel, and he's like an 18th century reenactor, and he had like a ginger beer recipe, and you know, follow through, and it only takes a couple days to make, and it looked really easy. I gave it a try, and you know, it was drinkable. It would definitely, probably, you know, for our more modern refined taste, it was a little rough, very spicy, I would say. The ginger was really spicy, but other than that, it was okay, and relatively easy. It was flat, so there may be some opportunity there to make something a little bit more interesting. And he also had a spruce beer video as well. I gave that a try. Again, it's fairly simple. It was like spruce essence, which I had to buy online, some maple syrup, and some yeast, and a few days of fermenting. Again, that one was flat, and it seemed promising, but it tasted like Scope mouthwash, minty mouthwash. And maybe in the 18th century, that would have been a novel, yummy beer, but you know, in today's world, not so much. So not so great. Which kind of led me down the path of like looking at what, you know, it would take to brew like a beer, and I was kind of like, that looks like a lot of work. I'm not going to do that. You have to like sprout things and then boil them and mash them, and then no. But I was like, hard cider, that might be pretty easy. What does that take? Oh, it's kind of, you just take apple juice, throw some yeast in it, and let it go. So I gave it a try, and it turned out okay, but it was flat. And I used some cider from a cider mill that's the oldest operating cider mill in Michigan, in Dexter, and it turned out pretty good. It was very dry, flat, almost like an apple wine, more so than anything else. I forget how long I like brewed it for. It was kind of a bit. So I think this time I was more interested in getting an actual, like, nice fizzy hard cider, and it's literally the same equipment to make the flat cider. So yeah, I figured might as well give it a try. And the other thing I thought, well, I'll just try it with the apple juice at the store. It was easier to get than for me to drive over to Dexter, which is a little bit of a hike. And now it was important to find apple juice that doesn't have any preservatives in it. So like anything that says like sodium or sorbate or anything that basically isn't apple juice or citric acid, you just kind of want those won't work, because basically those like sorbate or the sodium something or others, they don't, it basically prevents microbes, you know, and a yeast is a microbe, from growing, and so it won't work. So, but you can use anything that's pasteurized and with citric acid. The citric acid helps maintain color of the apple juice, is my understanding. And then some people with brewing will add citric acid for certain things. So that's perfectly usable. And that's what the apple juice that I had is what I use. Now I'm going to list all the equipment that I use. So that's 2 1-gallon jugs, basically, an airlock. Then I have flip top bottles and a bottle filler. Maybe a couple of things. So that'll all be listed down below. And I used Red Star champagne yeast, just because I heard some good things from somebody else, and it was easy to get. There's cider yeast specific, so you could get that as well if that seems more appealing. The Red Star champagne yeast is pretty cheap, relatively speaking. I think like 10 packs for $10 or something like that, you know, where some of the apple cider yeast might be $10 for 1 pack. If you liked the video, please give me a thumbs up. I definitely appreciate it. I'm planning on doing another one with if this turns out pretty decent. So I haven't quite tried it yet. I'm pretty excited and scared, because I'm kind of worried that I'll either have a gusher and it'll just spew hard cider everywhere, or it'll be flat, or yeah, who knows, maybe it turned and it's vinegar. I don't know. So I'm very curious to see what's going to happen here. But if it turns out, and I'm going to try to use I'm going to do a grape cider, which is basically using apple juice plus some canned grapes from my mother-in-law. She grows the grapes on her property and cans them, and she usually mixes them takes those canned grapes, mix them with apple juice as like just a summertime drink, you know, and it's pretty tasty because they're kind of like a variety similar to like Concord grapes. Very similar flavor profiles. There's the red ones, and then there's some white ones too, and they're all, you know, not anything you normally would find in the store. So I think that would be a fun little experiment to try that out next. But stick around to the end and see if I was successful. Let's get to brew. I'll walk you through the process of how I did it, and you'll see if it worked or not. We'll find out together here. Let's get to it. So you can see the setup's fairly simple. I have a pot here that I think will hold a gallon of juice. I'm going to double check that. I got 2 1-gallon containers here that'll be actually doing the fermenting in. I got a funnel to help pour the juice in, and then 2 of these water filter bleeder things. These have been cleaned, so that's why this has been cleaned. 2 gallons of juice, and then this is the yeast. I put it in a cup. We need a fifth of that because this is to make 5 gallons. So I need a fifth of that per one of these, which would be about approximately half a tablespoon. So what I'm going to start off with is just putting the apple juice in here, and then I'm going to add some sugar. I'm going to add a little bit of cinnamon and cloves just for a little bit of flavor, you know, besides just the apple juice. Okay, to the apple juice, I'm going to add 1 cup of sugar. Just want to add a cinnamon stick. Bloop. A few cloves, whole cloves. Maybe 1 more. Add 2 more. So the idea is now just to let it get warm, not to boil, and then I'm going to pour it into one of these. Mixing in the sugar, make sure that gets nice and mixed. You can use brown sugar, has a different flavor. If you only have white sugar and some molasses, you could add a little bit of molasses. You could go with maple syrup, you could go with honey, you know, depending on what kind of flavors you're trying to get. So I let this sit 10 minutes or so until I kind of got the aroma of cinnamon and cloves. I'm going to transfer it over. So you could do this a couple different ways. I'm going to start with using the scoop, or the measuring cup, pour into the funnel, and then maybe transfer everything over to the sink and pour in from that way. It's a little messy. Got it transferred over with little loss. I'm gonna let it cool just a little bit. It's actually kind of nice temperature. Like, you want it to be warm, but not like really hot. So when you put the yeast in, it'll go gangbusters, but not so warm that it's gonna go too gangbustery or hurt it. While this one cools off a little bit, I'm gonna start the second batch for the 2nd gallon here. All right, to help cool them off a little bit faster, I put them in the sink with some water. This is the first one, this is the second one. This one's pretty close to ready. This one I just poured into the, so it's still pretty warm. So we'll give it a couple minutes while this one, I'm doing it mostly by feel. It feels just above body temperature basically, or right around body temperature, you know. And obviously the bottom is gonna get cooler than the top. So before, you know, I screw the top on a little bit tighter. So I leave it slightly loose because, you know, as it cools, it's gonna create a vacuum and it'll get the cap stuck on. So I leave it slightly loose, and then I'll pick it up, I'll tighten it up, shake it to get it more even temperature, and then add the yeast. So before I add the yeast, I'm gonna prep this. This is the kind of the water bleeder valvey thingy. So I have the water in there, put the cap on, I'm sure I do it one-handed. So this cap basically helps prevent dirt and dust from like settling in there. And this allows the fermentation gases to escape, but not stuff to go back in. So now's the big moment. I'm gonna open up the top here. Got my ½ teaspoon, add that in. Little tappy tap. These things are gonna be happy little buggers. So now I'm gonna put the top on and give this a quick little shake. Okay, that's what it looks like. So this is gonna get cloudy. This cap's coming off. Firmly place that there. Now feed. Eat my minions. Right. Second one is ready. You can see the first one's starting to fizz. There's a good probability that this might fizz all the way up and then get into here. That's okay. You can just take this off for a second and rinse it out if you need to. Just cap it, you know, for a sec. Oh, you can see bubbles. See that bubble? Right. Boom. That's it. They're working. Go to town, little guys. Now this one, I've left the cloves in and the cinnamon stick just as an experiment. We'll see what happens. So now I'm going to transfer these down into my basement, and this is where they will live for the next approximately 2 weeks. All right, so here they are next to our canned goods. This is where it's going to sit. I'm going to actually cover them with a box. That's it bubbling. It'll bubble very slowly, just like that, over the next few days. All right, the day has come to bottle the cider. So I got the 2 jugs here. This is the bottling tubing right here. This thing's handy because it allows you to you gotta stick the wand in, and then the tube goes down to the bottles, and then when you press the into the bottle, it automatically releases. I have the light back there to help me see when I'm filling how close to full I am, because it's very easy to overfill these. Now I have 8 of them. They're in this Pyrex here because it does get a little bit messy. So let me try to see if I can show you how it goes. So before we start bottling, we're going to take 2 cups of water, which is measured out in this mason jar here, which is pretty handy. It doesn't have to be exact. And 4½ ounces of sugar. We're going to put them in this pot. I'm going to get it boiling. So I feel like a culinary chef having everything like pre-measured ahead of time. It's crazy. There you go. So now I'm going to get that. So once it comes to a boil, then make sure it all gets mixed in, and then let it cool down to room temperature. So it's basically 1 cup and 2¼ tablespoons of sugar for every gallon. And since I'm doing 2 gallons, it's 2 cups of water and 4½ tablespoons of sugar. So as editing the video, I realized I didn't explain why I was making the sugar water solution for the bottle. So basically what happens is after about 2 weeks, the bottle's fermenting. In this case, I let it sit for 4 because I added a cup of sugar. All the yeast has eaten most of the food. It's not producing very much carbonation. So you add just a little bit more sugar, food for the yeast, before you put it in the bottles, and then that way, while it's in the bottle, it'll kind of cook some more, and they'll make the carbonation, and then you have sparkling hard cider versus a flat hard cider. So that's the explanation of what's going on right now. Now before we get too excited, we got to pour the priming solution into this. So I got about half of that. That's going that one. The other half goes in there. So we're going to take off the airlocks. Exciting times. Put those off to the side. Take a funnel, which has all been sanitized. So everything has to get sanitized. That's why that tubing there is in that pot, because it's all clean and the pot's clean, so it won't get contamination. So yep. So I'm going to pour in half and then the other half in there. I have the tops, which have also been cleaned. I'll put on the jugs, shake them up so that that sugar gets mixed in, and then hopefully we'll be priming some bottles here. And then start actual bottling. So one thing I didn't really anticipate was not having a lot of room to fill the entire solution in. But you can also see that the yeast is going kind of crazy. It's not the yeast so much, the carbonation getting kicked up. So it's as much as I can fill it. What I might end up doing is bottling a little bit, adding a little bit more, and then just go from there. So you need the difference in gravity. That's what's feeding this. There's a little valve at the end here that when you press it at the bottom of the bottle, it opens it up and allows the cider to flow, or it could be beer, whatever it is that you're filling. And that's what makes this a little bit more convenient than other methods. And that's why it's kind of worth the money to get. So depending on everything, should be able to get 6 to 8 bottles. I usually get about 7, usually. Like I do this all the time. The last 2 times I've done this, or this time and the previous time, I've got about 7 bottles per. And this looks like what I'm about to get right now too. All right, the first gallon is bottled. This is a little taster glass here. You can drink this as it is right now. It probably won't be super carbonated, and it's supposed to get a little bit better flavor once you let it sit in the bottles for a bit. So I am probably going to give this a try right now. Let me just see. Wow, that's really good actually. It's very sweet. It was a lot sweeter than I thought it would be. Slightly carbonated. Definitely appley flavored. It was actually really good. I didn't think this was going to be that great. So I bottled it into these flip top bottles. They're pretty sturdy. So when you bottle, there's 2 things that can happen when you're trying to carbonate. One is that you blow the bottles up, so you have too much pressure. The second one is that you get a gusher, which means I pop this thing open and this thing's champagne style, you know, all over the place. Neither of those is desirable. Obviously the bottle's intact, so it didn't blow up. So now it's just a matter of, is it going to be a gusher, or is it going to be flat, or is it going to be pretty decent? So that I'm not sure. Let's I'm kind of scared just to pop it open. You know, it's a little bit of work. Here we go. Let's see. Oh, it's a gusher. Wow, but actually, very fizzy, obviously. Like champagne, champagne yeast, so not surprising. So very fizzy, apple flavored, it's good. Not too sweet, pretty dry. Actually, it's very balanced flavor. So this is just grocery store apple juice here. Maybe a little too bubbly, you know, because like you put it in your mouth and then it just disappears into bubbles. This is going to be good on a hot summer day. Obviously, right now it's fall. Well, not fall, sorry. Obviously now it's cool. Spring, early spring. So excited. It worked. So, well, hopefully, if you do decide to give it a try, you know, yours is successful. Yeah, this will be great. Sitting around a campfire, drinking your homemade hard cider on a hot day, warm day. This will be good. This is good stuff. Now, the nice thing about the flip top is that, you know, you can help keep the carbonation in the rest of it. Hopefully they don't all gush every single time you open them, but I guess if you get a little bit of gushing, that's okay. Well, I hope you liked the video. If you did, please give me a thumbs up, and subscribe if you like an eclectic channel. All right, thanks.